goes into why we're seeing such a huge increase. So the next slide shows increasing European demand for biomass. Basically, wood pellet production is going to continue to rapidly increase. And if you're looking at this chart, the green area is the US. So basically, the United States is lined up, and really when we say the United States, we're talking about the southern US. The United States is lined up to be where the bulk of future global demand for wood pellets are coming from, at least in the short term. I'm sure it will expand to other areas around the globe where the pulp and paper industry has an impact, but just last year, the US surpassed every other country out there to become the largest wood pellet exporter, and our exports are continuing to trend up to the point where we're supposed to hit at least 6 million tons a year by 2016. In the next slide, it looks at why I'm talking to you in the UK about this. Because right now the UK is the driver in Europe for the biomass industry and for the wood pellet market. 74% of the growth anticipated between 2007 and 2016 is expected to come from the UK. So policies in the United Kingdom are dramatically impacting the forest communities and biodiversity of my region, the southern US. When you look at that, the next two charts just show that anticipated demand, the numbers overall as they relate to other types of fuel sources that are being looked at. Again, the second one of the slides, future UK biomass electricity growth, really looks at that lion's share coming from imports. So you basically are already utilizing all the wood that you have available for this domestically, which is why you need it to come from other countries like ours. In terms of wood pellet exports itself, this is a rapidly growing industry in our region. And the company that's been of prime concern for our organization has been Enviva, which is lining up now to be the largest wood pellet manufacturer in the world. Enviva sells to Drax. They also have a purchase agreement with Eon and Electrabel, as well as others. And their capacity has grown dramatically. So they started with 2 small facilities in Mississippi. The 2 facilities were around 250,000 tons per year. Just last year, they opened a huge flagship export facility in northeastern North Carolina that I'm going to talk a little bit about more, called the Hosky, that is 350,000 tons. And just this year, opened another 500,000 ton facility in North Carolina and have one on the way in southeastern Virginia. So this company is expanding rapidly and are looking to corner the market on wood pellets coming from hardwood forests. In addition, it's also worth noting that whereas a company like Enviva is selling to companies like Drax and Eon and others, Drax themselves announced a plan, which I'm sure many of you heard about, to open 2 of their own wood pellet facilities in Louisiana and Mississippi that will weigh in at 900,000 tons of pellets annually. So if you go to the next slide, which is the map, proposed and existing facilities, you just get a sense of the lay of the land of where the facilities are. And of course, most of them are near the coast. And what you'll find along the coast of the southern US, as I showed earlier, is great species diversity, an area that's been hit very hard by the pulp and paper industry, and that the last remaining endangered forests and forested wetlands are critical for preservation. Yet if you look at this map, you see that this is where all of the big companies like Enviva and others are looking to expand in order to fill, as you'll see in the next slide, that export market. The next slide shows just the pathways from these facilities over to Europe. On the next slide, we go directly into Enviva. So why are we concerned about Enviva? Because Enviva is producing pellets from hardwood wetland forests. So some of the last special places on our coast that are critical for buffering us from climate change, for filtering water, as habitat for all kinds of endemic and endangered species, and just really important place that we have that's so threatened that it's vital that the madness with the wood pellet industry stop. And you'll hear claims from many of the wood pellet companies and many utilities that, don't worry, our wood pellets are coming A, from sustainable sources, which I talked about, SFI earlier, but B, oh, we're just using wood waste and thinnings. As you can see here, this is actually a photo from a Wall Street Journal investigative piece front page story, where they went into a 100-year-old wetland that was clear-cut to make pellets for Enviva. And we've been down to the coast a number of times to visit sites, and what we're seeing is clear-cut after clear-cut in areas like this that are going to make those pellets. So it's not coming from wood waste, it's coming from clear cuts of hardwood wetland forests that are vital to our ecosystems. The next slide shows an example of a log pile at the Ahoskie facility in eastern North Carolina. I have some new photos that I haven't been able to process yet that are much more dramatic from the air, but this gives you an idea of their log pile, the size of their logs. These are clearly not thinnings, those are actually trees. They're not little twigs and sticks and tops and limbs. They're using whole trees to make biomass. And it's vital that companies move away from using whole trees because it's not sustainable for our forests, and it's not a sustainable fuel source for the future. I'm sure that there have been folks that have talked about the climate question here as it relates to biomass. But if you look closely at burning forests for electricity, the newest science is saying that burning wood for electricity releases more carbon than coal. And that's because of the life cycle of the time that it takes in order for a tree to pull back in carbon, to sequester carbon, the releases of the stacks, all of the transportation releases. It's the silliest thing to try and use something like wood as a renewable resource to save us from climate change when standing forests are the things that are supposed to be saving us from climate change.